It's time to grab some sugary sweetness, find as much pink as you can, and sniff some colorful flowers, because we're getting cute once again. Ordyne, a colorful horizontal shooter, was released by Namco in the late 80s as an arcade title in Japan. In fact, I remember playing this version on Namco Museum Volume 4 on the PlayStation. Man, I used to love that series of games back then. Anyway, the TurboGrafx received a port of this title very early on in its life. And truthfully, it is a decent translation with a great co-op mode. What is Ordyne? Well, it's actually a colossal nuclear reactor that nobody really knows about. The fiancé of Dr. Tumari, who is the inventor of this lovely device, was kidnapped. And she just happens to have the key to this reactor hanging around her neck. Nice going, babe. So, armed with an extremely colorful ship full of deadly lasers, Tumari and his assistant Felix rush to the rescue. So what makes Ordyne lean into that cute category? Well, the goofy-looking enemies, the bright, candy-coated colors, the somewhat parody of other shooters. All of that and tons of just sugariness mixed together to liven up what is mostly a pretty straightforward shooter. You can look, but you will not find a hit meter, so one tiny tap and you're history. There are 7 stages in Ordyne with an end boss guarding each exit. In this game, you don't earn power-ups as you play. Instead, defeated enemies or strings of enemies drop crystals. Collecting them will act as currency, and snagging as many as you can is important before you reach the Space Inn. Here there are 3 items you can purchase, and you can only buy 1. Some weapon upgrades can only be used for a short period of time, and others come with a limited number of stock. Some special weapons are quite powerful. I mean, I had some upgraded bombs and I dropped them onto boss number 2 and he never even had a shot. Bye-bye. Crystals can also be used in the Dream Company Space Lottery. Here you can win power-up items and additional money. But you can also leave a bit empty. The game will ask if you'd like to use a power-up now or select it for later use, which will arm your character after losing a life. God, I wish you could do that after the shops as well, because often the power-up will run out before it's even really needed. Ordyne is not just shoot and shoot and shoot. There are some interesting obstacles to avoid that take some careful dodging. Evil red mints, falling bombs, a ground that just starts freaking out, giant pistons, and much more. Stage 7's Legoland has a bunch of goodies to avoid everywhere, including platforms that look like Phase 3 of Mario Bros. Arcade. I will give the game credit, as some stages have multiple paths, some more dangerous than others. In Stage 5, you definitely want to take the bottom path and destroy those things that look like they were created by Baxter Stockman, or else they'll continue to follow you and gang up their shots. Now the co-op play in this game really adds some nice replay value. In one-player mode, when all lives are lost, you're flung back to the beginning of the stage if you continue. Using 2 players, you can resurrect arcade co-op style exactly where you left off, with up to 4 chances to do so. Ordyne is very bright and colorful and cute 'em up to the max. It is missing quite a bit of multiplex scrolling, a little background detail, and some of that famous scaling in comparison to the arcade, which gives the game a bit of a flat look. But the TurboGrafx version does replicate the environments okay, and the enemies and bosses look good. The game exhibits no slowdown and very little overall flicker. The music is upbeat and cheery and replicated quite nicely from the arcade. The sound effects are simple shooter effects, but that pause noise? Every time you hit pause, it just... I can't get enough of it. Once you purchase that speed upgrade, your character moves around the screen a lot smoother with the directional key. Until then, it is a tad sluggish. The rest of the controls work well as you shoot straight with button 2 and drop bombs with button 1. Your best bet is to put those turbo switches up and you're all set. Ordyne is a fun little shooter, but it's a tad on the easy side. The levels themselves are rather short, and even with only 5 continues, an experienced shooter fan will manage to beat the game the first time around. The end bosses have some interesting patterns, but none of them will challenge your skills all that much. Well, maybe that guy will. When you die, any power-ups will be lost, but they do allow you to keep the speed enhancements, which is really cool. Overall, Ordyne is not a bad shooter, and the multiplayer options add a lot of fun into the mix. Plus, if you hold down button 1 at the title screen, you can play as Kana, which will award you a different ending. Playing as a princess, as if the game wasn't cute enough already. Some levels in Ordyne will require trial and error, and you will have to repeat them in order to advance. But you will plow through it all eventually, and there isn't much else there for one player. That's where the co-op mode and a couple of extra goodies add some nice replay value. In the end, Ordyne is colorful and cheery, and the TurboGrafx can handle that part extremely well.